world, film audiences are gathering. At night in New York, evening in Chicago. To watch filmmakers in a rainy Los Angeles twilight, already dressed for evening, come together to make tomorrow's headlines and another chapter of Hollywood history. Live. From the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles, California, the 54th Annual Academy Awards. Proudly shared with you by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Brought to you by Revlon, fabulous Revlon, the people who help make the world a little more beautiful. And the Buick Motor Car Division and your Buick dealer, who proudly announced the 1982 Buicks. And the Coca-Cola Company and your local Coca-Cola bottler. For big refreshment, Coke is it. Polaroid, inventors of 600 high-speed film and the cameras that use it. Back. For 53 years, creative people have gathered for Hollywood's annual celebration of film excellence. There's Mae West, Cary Grant and Ginger Rogers, Donna Michi and Loretta Young, Joan Crawford, Wallace Beery, Jean Harlow, Greta Garbo, Claudette Colbert, Joan Blondell, Shirley Temple, Darrell F. Zanuck, Louis B. Mayer, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, Jimmy Stewart, Hattie McDaniel, Ronald Colman, Greer Carson, George Sanders and Zsa Zsa Gabor, Hoagie Carmichael, Sid Charisse and Tony Martin, Spring Byington and Charles Coburn, Ronald Reagan, Elizabeth Taylor, Luella Parsons, Broderick Crawford, Kim Novak, Marlon Brando, Doris Day, Paul Newman, John Wayne, Liza and Vincent Minnelli, Jane Fonda, Fred McMurray and June Haber, Melvin and Helen Gahagan Douglas, Jean Moreau and George Cukor, Goldie Hawn, Pat and Eloise O'Brien, Jennifer Jones, Maximilian Schell, Jack Nicholson, Gene Hackman, Betty Grable, Isaac Hayes, Peter Finch, James Caan, Dinah Shore and Burt Reynolds, James Coburn, Francis Ford Coppola, Michael Caine and MacDonald Carey, Cecily Tyson, Liv Ullmann, Billy D. Williams, Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland, Marcel Marceau, Raquel Welch, Peter Falk, Paul McCartney, Fred Astaire and Irwin Allen, Art Carney, Felicia and Jack Lemmon. Again this year, crowds pack the plaza of the Los Angeles Music Center as today's stars arrive for the 54th Academy Awards, including Lionel Richie, a nominee in the Best Song category for his composition, Endless Love, and a presenter of the song on tonight's show with Diana Ross. Mr. Roger Moore may be the handsomest man alive in the incarnation of James Bond, a presenter of a special award this evening. Miss Meryl Streep, Oscar nominee this year for French Lieutenant's Woman. Best Actress category nominee for Only When I Laugh. Her fourth nomination, Marcia Mason. Joan Hackett, Best Supporting Actress nominee for her performance in Only When I Laugh. And the inimitable Bob Hope, longtime MC of the Academy Award show and America's ambassador to the entire world. Diana Ross, a presenter on tonight's show and superstar entertainer and actress. She joins Lionel Richie singing Endless Love. Mr. James Coco, nominated as Best Supporting Actor for Only When I Laugh and one of the funniest men on earth. Mr. Jim Henson, the genius behind Miss Piggy, Kermit the Frog, and all the Muppets, two of whom star on tonight's show. Mr. John Schneider, television star and singer of one of tonight's nominated songs. Richard Keel, James Bond's nemesis as the frightening character Jaws. Carol Burnett, star of last year's hit film Four Seasons and this year's Annie. Best Actor nominee Dudley Moore with the charming Susan Anton. Miss Loretta Young, former Oscar winner for her role in Farmer's Daughter. Bette Midler, former Academy Award nominee for the motion picture Rose and a presenter tonight. Howard Rollins Jr., first-time Oscar nominee for his role in Ragtime. Jane Fonda, two-time winner and nominated again this year for On Golden Pond. They have now joined these members and guests of the Academy inside the theater. You will too in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, Oscar-nominated composer Bill Conti conducts the Academy Awards Orchestra in the Overture, a medley of memorable film scores. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, writer-producer Faye Kanan.
Good evening and welcome. This is a banner year for movies. I don't think we've ever honored an array of films with more diversity or power to move us, entertain us, and to all the nominees who are out there. This is a chance for us, your colleagues, to say how much we admire your work, the commitment you brought to it, the talent that made you realize it so beautifully. This year, the Academy Awards will be seen in 71 countries by over 300 million people, among them 150,000 hearing-impaired persons who will be seeing and hearing it for the first time. Australia is carrying the show live via the Pacific satellite. Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Brazil live via the Atlantic satellite. Canada and Mexico are picking it up live. A special satellite feed tomorrow morning will beam the international edition to England, Italy. I just have to stop there in awe at how dazzling our communication systems have become, how close the whole world, and how universal the appeal of motion pictures. In Greece, a young journalist who interviewed me assured me, "I know a lot about your country and your people." I asked him when he'd last been here, and he said, "Oh, I've never been, but I've seen your movies." I knew what he meant. Much of what we know about each other, we learn from each other's movies. They transcend language and geography and speak people to people in a way nothing else can. That gives those of us who work in this remarkable medium an added responsibility to let our movies mirror the life around us with all its beauties and all its warts, laughing at its idiocies as well as celebrating its spirit and humanity. And you, our audiences, have an obligation too, to help us keep the screen free and open and bold and critical, so that, like my young friend in Greece, we can go on saying to each other, "I know a lot about your country and your people. I've seen your movies." Thank you. I now have the great pleasure of introducing a gentleman who helps all of us know ourselves better through his own insights and his wit. Our charming and handsome host for this evening, Johnny Carson.
Silent screen descends. Thank you, that's very nice of you. And welcome to Long Day's Journey into Night. Are you all comfortable? By the way, an usher will give each row a squeegee. Would you please use it and pass it along? Sad to think that right now, $40,000 worth of hairdos are floating down the street outside. But as you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 54th year of this award show. And coincidentally, this is the 54th award show of this year. I don't know about you, but I think we ought to get together next month after the popcorn manufacturer's Golden Bucket Awards and cool it for a while. But it's hard to believe that the Academy has been in existence for 54 years. I mean, just think, if Columbia had put only $2,000 a year into an IRA plan, they wouldn't have had to sell out to Coca-Cola. Don't worry about Columbia, they're going to do just fine. They're collecting a nickel deposit on every film can this year. But because of changes like that in this town, critics have said that Hollywood is losing some of its glamour. And there may be some truth to that. As you know, there's stiff competition among the studios as to how many Oscar nominations each one got. So I'd like to break it down for you this year. Gulf and Western got 35 nominations. Coca-Cola got 6, Atari had 8, and Kinney Shoes had 3. As far as glamour is concerned, there is no lack of glamour here tonight. This is a lovely, you're a stunning audience tonight. I have never seen such gorgeous designer gowns. You ladies borrow them from the Smithsonian? I know, that could be trouble. But, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, tonight you will see 3 hours of comedy, music, and drama. Of course, we will have to interrupt the commercials once in a while to give out some awards. Speaking of awards, I think the caliber of nominees in every category tonight is outstanding. Now, just consider the acting nominees alone. Such screen veterans as Henry Fonda, John Gielgud, Katharine Hepburn. Who would have thought that in 1982, Burt Lancaster would be voted Best Newcomer? And speaking of film veterans, wasn't it great that James Cagney and Fred Astaire returned to the screen to entertain us through another depression? You applauding for the depression? You applauding for Cagney and Astaire or the depression? No, but people know, especially in this audience, that Hollywood has economic problems too. Now, critics say that they're not hiring minorities in films. Not true. Any actor in this town that's working is in a minority. As a matter of fact, right now in India, you can adopt the United Artists Executive. You know, he sends him a picture and a letter once a month letting him know how he's doing over here. But, I mean, let's be honest, things have changed in this business. I mean, it's matured, especially the attitude among the actors. Nowadays, actors use crude language, obscenities, 4-letter words. But enough about the Screen Actors Guild. If you're my age, when I was growing up, pictures seemed to be more innocent in those days. But you can believe it, but the days of innocence are now gone. 1981 was the year, for example, that Superman lost his virginity, Zorro went gay, and Mary Poppins went topless. But in one memorable scene in S.O.B., Julie Andrews showed us that the hills are still alive. But no matter how many things change, most pictures are made to the old-fashioned formula. Boy meets girl, boy gets girl. In today's pictures, the boy still gets the girl. He gets her on the kitchen table. He gets her in an airplane restroom. I hope that joke, when it gets to the satellite, they send it back. But as you know, not every film that is made lives up to its creator's expectations. Now, for example, MGM released Under the Rainbow this year, and, well, frankly, audiences weren't enthused about it. In fact, the theater owners had to install speed bumps near the exit. And the legend of the Lone Ranger was not a biggie either, but there was one great scene in The Legend of the Lone Ranger where Tonto put his ear to the ground and said, "Kimosabe, I hear 8, maybe 9 people coming to see this movie, tops." But of course, next year we can look forward to a fresh crop of new and original films. Superman 3, Death Wish 3, Rocky 4, Herpes 2. And there's another film coming out in the tradition of Mommy Dearest. It was written by a daughter of one of the Three Stooges, titled Surly Curly. But I think the most inspired screen pairing of the year was between Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn. I mean, it moved everybody, except Interior Secretary James Watt, who today approved offshore drilling on Golden Pond. Didn't work. You shouldn't worry. He's issued each duck a dipstick. But this is the night that Hollywood puts aside its petty jealousies and brings out its major jealousies. And as I look at this audience tonight, I see the directors, the writers, the stars, the producers, and they're all sitting in Warren Beatty's seat. Warren Beatty is the only individual to be nominated in 4 categories for a second time. Warren, I think that's great. Something like this could get you girls. Elizabeth Taylor sends her regrets. She could not be here tonight. As you know, she's working in London, where she's been joined by Richard Burton. And I don't know, I personally think it's kind of romantic that Liz and Dick might get back together again. Actually, they have to get back together again. They've married everyone else. Before we break, I would just like to say a personal thank you to a gentleman who was in the audience tonight who kind of set the trend for mastering the ceremonies of this show for over 20 years, Mr. Bob Hope. Thank you, Bob. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with our first award. Thank you. Thank you very much.